Hi, Peggy Caruso. Recently, I was invited to be the keynote speaker for JC's National. It was a great honor, and I would like to share that with you now, so I hope that you'll listen. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, JCI USA. I hope you're able to start your day off with us here in the morning. NDP Margot and CDD Emily had a great morning show where they got us running around our house collecting JC gear and memorabilia and thematic items to win prizes. We gave a member a gift card to our swag store that we just opened. But more importantly, we are ready to do our half hour of power here with author Peggy Caruso. Peggy Caruso is a certified executive and personal development coach, best-selling author, 8-time entrepreneur, and a certified relaxation therapist. She is also the founder and host of the Revolutionize podcast. Peggy has been interviewed by NBC, CBS, Success Magazine, Reader's Digest, Franchise Handbook, Advancing Women, and has been a guest on radio and podcast shows across the U.S. Peggy has written 4 books in the Revolutionize series and has been trademarked through the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Her newest book, Take the First Shot, Strategies to Fire You Up and Change Your Life, is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and will be in the bookstores February 2021. She is the current owner of Life Coaching and Beyond, LLC, and Fireside Investments, LLC. You can email her at pcaruso@lifecoaching.comcastbiz.net, and her website is lifecoachingandbeyond.com, and you can find her on all the social media outlets. So with that said, I will head it over to Peggy. Thank you so much, Peggy, for being with us, and here we go.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I'm going to start out with a story. So before we get started, I want you to take a couple deep breaths. I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, slowly. Get rid of all distractions, and I want you to close your eyes and follow the story. It's more powerful if you do that. So it's going to be about a young girl who is a teenager. And keep your eyes closed and think about this young girl, and what is the goal of a teenager is to go to college. So she gets to that point and something happens financially and she cannot go to college. So she goes out and gets a job and she saves her money so that that is on her goal that she is going to go. When she gets close to that and she's ready to go, she becomes pregnant and has a child at the age of 21. She ends up getting married in a relationship that she knows she shouldn't get married, but she allows the influence of parents and other people to talk her into that marriage. So she goes into the marriage, and there's a lot of rough times. They're young, there's a baby, and now there's another baby. This child has a life-threatening illness, so it even complicates things even more. As you can probably imagine, they get divorced. And she goes out on her own, and she raises these children emotionally and financially by herself. Very, very difficult, especially with a child with a life-threatening illness. She gets in several relationships, and a few of them are abusive. She goes through her life and she has people who steal from her. She loses her life savings. Years later, her sister passes away. She took her life. So she didn't lose a sister, she lost her best friend. And years later, her father passes. And it separates her from her family, except for her mom and her children. And then years later, she wakes up one day and she can't walk. She can't do stairs, she can't get down and get back up. And so it's extremely challenging. Now open your eyes, and that's me. That's my story. But I've reached happiness and success. I've climbed the corporate ladder. I still got my education. I just did it on the side. I've owned 8 businesses. I'm an author of 4 books that are trademarked to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. I am a certified executive and personal development coach with my own podcast, and I have a retreat center. It's beautiful. So you can do it. And what I want to impress upon you today is I'm going to leave here with giving you 3 points that can help you get started. And what I want you to know is you're in the JCs, and it is a great organization. Any organization that you get involved in is amazing. And sometimes you're going to feel overwhelmed, like you want to quit. And that's when I want you to think about my story. I never quit. You know, you have to think about what keeps you going. And what you have to understand is there is always lows, but there is always highs. There is always negatives, and there is always positives. And there's always valleys, and there are always peaks. And so my story, what I did was I owned my mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. You might look at that story and say, oh my goodness, how did she do that, make those many mistakes? Or you might look and say, oh, I feel sorry for her. Or you might not feel anything. But what you have to know is whenever you make a mistake, it isn't a mistake. Failure is just failure if you don't get back up. It's stepping stones to success. And it was me thinking about what I really wanted in life that kept me going. And you know, I look at me having a child at 21 and 24, and you know what? I wouldn't do it any different because they turned out amazing and they kept me on track. My children are the reason I became successful, and I owe that to them. So you can do it as well. So what is the key? What is the key that took me from the negative to the positive and stay in that realm? It's energy. It's energy. And I know you probably think, what? But you are made up of energy, and you're always going to have negative. So you have to work really hard at keeping that in a positive energy flow and really turning things around. You have to break the negativity chain. Negative is the dominant emotion. Positive and negative cannot occupy the mind at the same time. You got to try really hard. You got to give it your all. So I talked about peaks and valleys. Let's go there for a minute. Everybody wants to get to the peak. Stay in the valley. Stay in the valley for a little bit. The valley's beautiful. Look around and appreciate what you have, or you don't deserve to get to the peak. And guess what? When you get to the peak, you're still going to have highs and lows and positives and negatives. So you got to figure it out to get to the peak. And that's what I'm going to try to help you with today. So I want to focus on the things I told you in my story. It brought me success. It was my entrepreneurial vision. My vision was, I'm going to own my own business someday. And I did it 8 times. And it's rewarding, and I love it. But you may not want to own a business. You may want to climb that corporate ladder, or you may want to do something different. It doesn't matter. Just don't quit. Don't ever give up. You see things that people are given positive messages all the time. Hang on to those because they mean something. So understand your behavioral patterns. How did I look back now and I think, I would never do that stuff now. But that's okay because now I found out who I am, and I'm not ashamed. Don't ever be ashamed of things you've done wrong. Learn from it and grow from it. So the first point that I want to make today, I want to talk to you about your mental foundation. Just as a house has a foundation that supports the weight of the house, I want you to focus on your mental foundation. Okay? I don't want to overwhelm you, so I'm going to start you out at kindergarten level. Because you start at kindergarten before you can graduate and go to college, right? So I'm going to give you the easiest things to get started, because that's part of why I wrote my last book. Is everybody wants results, but they get overwhelmed. Do you ever see, like in the beginning of the year when everybody does New Year's resolutions, and by February nobody's in the gym? So you have to have your own mental foundation. So the first point in that is gratitude. An attitude of gratitude. I do it every day, and you can start this as soon as you're done here. Just give 5 things you're grateful for every day and make them different. Of course you love your loved ones, but do it different every day. I built my retreat center, and I have it so when I walk in, I spin around and the lights come on. It helps me to be grateful for electricity. You hear everyone complain when the electric goes out, but I say I'm grateful for electricity every day, and I mean it. I'm grateful for water. You have to be grateful and not complain all the time when things go wrong. Appreciate what goes right. And so I'm talking to you from your JC standpoint and your job and your family, and I'm sure a lot of you have a family somewhere, you're getting into having a family. It's challenging. So appreciate the valley, appreciate the beauty around you so you can move on and to bigger and better. The second point is positive affirmations, and you can do this today. You can start today. I can and I will. Always in a positive sense. Like if you're on a weight loss program, I'm happy and grateful that I'm at a healthy weight of blank. I am beautiful. I am thin. I am successful. I am happy. I will achieve my goal. The positive affirmations are huge in goal planning. So that's the second point in a mental foundation. And the third one is meditation. People don't understand it. It's not weird and you don't have to, do something odd. It's learning what you can do to calm and clear your mind. So I suggest that you start with guided meditation. Look up Deepak Chopra. He's an amazing man and he is phenomenal at teaching you how to do that. And so what he does is he and Oprah actually do a thing together where they offer a 21 free day guided meditation. And so take advantage of that because it's free. And if not, he has a lot of free stuff on the internet. But what he does is he starts out giving you a mantra or a positive message, and it keeps you focused on when your mind starts to wander and drift. It brings you back into if you're going to have your mind wander, have it wander in a positive way. And then at the end, he just plays spa music. And if your mind starts to wander, he tells you to focus on the mantra or focus on the positive message. So I highly suggest that you look him up. So mental foundation, attitude of gratitude, meditation, positive affirmations, and the last one is journal. Journal your journey. I have journaled all of my life, and I'll tell you what the benefit is. If you look up most of the successful people in life, they'll tell you that they journal. And there are several reasons. One is that you release your emotions. When you have a negative occurrence in your life, it is amazing what happens when you get to release it. I mean, if you're going to say something negative about someone you love, just hide it so they don't find it. But it's amazing to see how when you release that emotion, how much better you feel. And the other thing it does is it tracks your progress. So if you look at it and you say, wow, I used to stay stuck in that for 5 weeks. You want to get it down to 5 days, then 5 hours, then 5 minutes. And that's how you know that you're gaining the strength in your mind that you need. Just relate it to physical exercise. You see results. You will start to see results mentally once you build that foundation. If a client walks in my office, and I do a lot of corporate people, and they want to increase their bottom line, and everything is about, finance, because you have to make it work, right? But if I hand them a strategic plan of action across my desk, it isn't going to work because what they're presently doing isn't working. So people have to understand that you have to have that mental foundation. You have to have that inner strength. So I really want you to get started on that, and that will be on a sheet that Krista is going to email everyone so that you have those resources in front of you. The second point that I want to make today is about goals. Now, I could talk all day long about goal setting, and it's hard because you have short-term goals, you have long-term goals, you have personal, and you have professional. And so you have to do all of them. It's so important that you have goals. And remember when I talked about those positive affirmations? It goes hand in hand with goal setting. And you'll use them relative to your goals. And by the way, about the positive affirmations, go online and download apps. They have apps that give you positive affirmations and just make them toward your goal. Which ones work for you? So what I would like you to do today is think about goals and why they're important. I don't know if you ever heard this story about burn the boats. It's my favorite. And it's about the Greek warriors that stormed the shores. And the commander burned the boats. So why did he do that? It left no way that they could run or retreat. You have to win or perish. And I want you to think about that with your goals. Think about my story. Think about when I had financial difficulties, right? Picture going into a store and deciding, toothpaste or deodorant? I can only buy one of them. What would you do? And there were times where I put my children to bed and I sat on the floor thinking, how am I going to feed them? So you want to talk about win or perish? They gave me that strength that I'm going to do this and I'm going to come out on top. And I did. And so if you associate that with your own goals, you'll make it. Remember, energy. Keep yourself in a high positive energy flow. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is work-life balance, because it is huge. leave home at home and work at work. I want to start by telling you, let's go back to my story for a minute, to my son who had a life-threatening illness. In kindergarten and first grade, he spent a very large amount of time in the hospital. And I'm going to walk you through just one day for me, okay? I woke up in the morning and I got my daughter ready for school, and I fed her and I packed her lunch and got her off to school, and then I went to the hospital, which was a 20-minute drive, and I saw my son. And then I went to work. And then I didn't eat lunch because on my lunch break, I went back to the hospital. And then I went back to work. And then I went back to the hospital. And after that, I had to go back home. And I had to do homework and feed my daughter and get her ready for bed and find someone to sit with her. And then I had to go back to the hospital to tuck him in. I did that on and off for 2 years. Was that challenging? Yeah. And you know, at that point, you have to learn how to leave work at work. It would not have been fair to my children to bring that to them. And home at home, I couldn't bring my tears and my sadness and my struggles to work. I wouldn't have been productive. And when you realize all this and you start slowing down, you are far more productive. So I just want you to think about that. In my story, I had that life-threatening illness with my son, but I still climbed the corporate ladder. I still did my education on the side. And you know what? I started a small business on the side and got my feet wet being an entrepreneur. I loved it. And that's what I'm trying to talk to you today about, the JCs and about balance. I want you to think long and hard about where you struggle and how you can get started. And on the end of this conversation, I'm going to leave you with 2 really good things that changed my life. One is called The Dash. Okay, I don't know if you ever heard of it, but a lady named Linda Ellis wrote it. And it's a poem, and I want you to look it up online because that changed my life. And she talks about the day you're born and the day you die and the little dash in the middle. And the dash is what they say at your eulogy. What will people say about you? What did you do in this world to make a difference? I want you to make a difference. I want everybody to make a difference. I am making a difference because I started writing books so that I could use part of the proceeds to start an orphanage. And you know what? You can't call it an orphanage in Pennsylvania, so I'm going to call it a child's academy because teaching success principles to children makes them successful adults. So what would they say about you in your eulogy? I want you to think about it. I want you to think about when you end this, like, what difference can I make in this world? Give and help the people who are less fortunate, because that's what you're here for. Make a difference. So I just want you to think about that. And before I leave, this is my new book, Take the First Shot. And in it is over 100 strategies on how to get started in relationships, in parenting, in personal development, in work-life balance, in our elderly care, and friendships. One thing I've noticed, like in interviews across the United States and when I've been on TV or magazine, everyone says, just tell me something. Just get me started, or how long is this going to take, and how long is it going to take to fix me? And you know, everybody just wants something. But again, if I hand you something major, you're not going to do it. You're going to become overwhelmed. So you can start with a small step, or take that first shot, because once you do that, it's a motivator. So I love my new book for that reason. And I want you to think about, if you don't take your own first shot, you're going to miss the opportunity to take the last shot and win the game. I hope you win your game. Thank you for having me, and I hope that you had something to take away today. So, is there any questions that anybody has? I know, Krista, you said you were going to put them across. I don't see any yet, but.
All right, everybody. Does anybody have any questions for Peggy today? You can turn on your cameras, you can chat, whatever you think. It's such an amazing opportunity. Oh, someone says, what was the name of the poem and author again?
The Dash. And it was by Linda Ellis. And I will send, like I said, I have a sheet to give to Krista that it's going to have all of these points on it. It's going to tell you how to get started with the 4 points of the mental foundation. It's going to have the information on the Dash and my book. and goal setting and work-life balance.
And that was immediate past President Annie from Ohio. Immediate past President Ciamara asks, what would you recommend for meditation?
It's kind of what I talked about. I think it's important that you start with guided meditation, because the point in meditation is that you're supposed to completely calm and clear your mind. Now, I can do that, but I've been doing this for years. And to get to that point, it takes a while. You have to build that mental strength. So when you have guided meditation, what it does is keep you focused on a positive message. So when your mind starts to wander, it pulls it back, and that starts to build that strength. So check out Deepak Chopra. And he is amazing. And I found him to have the most soothing voice and the best mantras and the best positive messages.
Awesome. Heidi from Maryland asks, when you say that you were managing work, school, a sick child, and more, how did you actually make all of that work and not get overwhelmed?
It was a process. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, everything starts somewhere. And so what I did is, I remember the story when I said I sat on the floor and didn't know how I was going to feed my kids. At that point, I was overwhelmed. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. And I said, you have to do it. So what you have to understand is self-talk is probably the most amazing gift that you have, because you can talk yourself into and out of anything you want to do. When you do sit-ups and you just say, I can't do that next sit-up, if you tell yourself, yes, I can, it's just one more, you end up having the resilience to do more. And it's the same thing mentally. Start by talking to yourself and then have a plan. And if you don't know how to put a plan together, reach out to someone like myself or somebody in the field who has the resources that can help you come up with a good plan of action that can keep you on track.
That's amazing. MVP Margot asks, what is something you do daily for self-care?
Well, you and I were just having a conversation about my favorite thing is the new saying, you do you. Because you know what? You have to take care of yourself. Or if you don't put your oxygen mask on first, you're not going to save anyone. And so if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't help your kids. I have people say like, oh, my kids are the most important thing, and I just get up and it's all about them. But guess what? If you can't handle it and you have stress, you're going to have medical issues. And I went through that. That is why my point is of not being able one day to walk. And I had all these tests done and everything was perfect. What happened? I went to Cleveland Clinic and I did it in 3 years with no medication. And he put me on a retraining my mind and retraining me in exercise, and it worked. I can do squats. I just hired a trainer. And it took 3 years, and I am really proud of it. So you have to believe in the power of your mind.
Right. Well, I was going to say, probably for a lot of members that are parents, that means like get up a half hour early and go leave the house or go do that thing that you need to do, and then you can come in and take care of your kids because you did the thing for you.
Get up early.
President Neil from Pennsylvania, he says, Peggy,
Hi,
say
Neil.
someone listening today can relate to one of your points. What advice do you have when taking the first shot?
Take a shot. Do something, because that one little step is your motivator, and that's what's going to keep you focused, and that's what's going to take you to the next one. Let's go back to physical exercise, and the reason I use that is because people, if we can't touch it, see it, feel it, we don't understand the mental part. So think about physical, right? You have to take the first shot. You got to go to the gym. You got to sign up. And then the one day you do so much, right? And the next day you increase it. And as you do it, you start seeing results. You start building muscle, and now you're motivated. And now you can do it, you will do it, and you're going to even make it more difficult. So you can't just go into a plan and start off right at the top. You won't make it. You have to start at the bottom at kindergarten. And that's what you need to do, is just take a step, even if it's a phone call for help.
Right. And then JC's, we've been teaching that a lot, like just pick up the phone and call your fellow members, call your chapter president, ask them how are they doing, what's going on. Yeah, amazing. Any other questions from the team, from anybody? She's so amazing. I love, like, that question got you so passionate.
I'm always passionate.
I was going to add with my empowerment coach that we were talking about earlier. I'm like, I used to kind of motivate myself to get out of bed to go on that hike or go on that run or do the exercise by saying, like, get up, you, like, you fat person, and like, do this. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, you're really telling yourself that? Like, that you should not shame yourself to do things. Like, you need to go from the positive side of things to reaffirm, right?
Yes, you don't ever say negative things about yourself. You know, you just have to figure out why you're not motivated and what it will take to get you motivated.
Right. Well, Margot, do you got a question?
Okay, I have tried meditation before and was not very good at it, I guess. I'm a person that it's hard for me to turn my brain off. And like, you know, I even have trouble sleeping because it's like my brain is constantly firing. Do you have anything for like people like me who we almost overwhelm ourselves because we're just constantly, our brain is always going?
Yes, I do. And again, I will go back for 1 second to the Deepak and the guided meditation. If you are that kind of person, you need to start there. But what you need to really focus on is breathing. And people disregard breathing. They think like, well, really? But there are so many breathing techniques, but there's one that will instantly calm you down if you do it 3 times in a row. And is it if you take a deep breath in through your nose and you hold it, and then you let it out very slowly through your mouth. And you do that 3 times, it is a calming mechanism. The amount of air that you take in, you have to take enough air in so that you have enough to expel. So if you don't take enough in, you don't have enough to expel. That's the part that calms you down, is when you let it out slowly. So in through your nose and hold it. And very slowly out through your mouth. And you do that 3 times in a row and it should calm you down. If it doesn't, you're probably not doing it correctly. But you got to get yourself calm first, or you're just not going to be able to even listen to guided.
Peggy, as some self-reflection on that idea, the idea of even just taking in air for yourself and expelling is the whole concept of fulfilling your cup and giving from overflow. Like, you can't breathe out and expel anything if you haven't breathed in any air.
Right, right.
Oh my gosh. Someone, our guest wrote, so we sometimes feel we don't make a difference in people's lives, but we really do. Like, someone drinks from a coffee mug you gave them and it makes them smile. Mm-hmm. How are ways we can have more of those minutes to realize we really do make a difference? Well, you know, during meditation.
Yeah, and you know what? It doesn't take much of anything to make a difference in somebody's life. I do a motivational minute every day, Monday through Friday, and I encourage you to go on my Facebook, and I encourage you to listen to them because they're free. And they're just a quick 40 seconds to a minute to get your day started on something positive. And I always talk about you can make a difference in someone's life. You can write them a note. You can give them a compliment. Did you ever just look at somebody and they look like they're having a bad day and you go, oh my gosh, I really like that outfit? You can just see that they light up like, oh, someone said they like my outfit today. So start with kindness. Start with doing and being and giving, because there are so many people who just need a kind word or a kind smile. Don't overthink it.
With that said, that's a great way to end our presentation today. We've got our next speaker coming up here in a minute. And so, just Peggy, thank you so much for spending your morning with us and
you
sharing
are welcome.
all of your expertise. We can't thank you enough, and I know that we had quite a lot of members on this Zoom here who learned a lot today. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And reach out if you need anything.
Bye.